Alright, hello everyone, and this is my draft analysis for basically the showdown counterpart to the CWL, the CSL, the Global Showdown League, and I'm just going to go through who I drafted and the order I picked them. So as you can see, my first pick is Tapu Fini. And I've always wanted to use Tapu Fini, but it just gets a lot of coverage. It gets defog. It gets like knockoff, haze, all that stuff. Misty Terrain is really nice because it reduces dragon moves, and not a lot of stuff resists dragon. Like steel, and that's it, I think. And other than that, like I said before, it gets a lot of coverage. It gets Grass Knot, it gets Knockoff, it gets Ice Beam, it gets Ice Punch, I don't know why. It gets, like, Trick and stuff. So, I don't know, I might be using that. But it's just, like, it has pretty good defenses, like one base 115 defense, base 130 speed def, and an okay speed and special attack. It's mostly a special attacker, not a physical attacker, but well, 75, I guess that's okay. Most of the time, you will see, like, a special thing with Finny, and it gets Combine just kind of as a bonus, so it can be even more bulky on that Spidef side, and also do more with attacks. The one bad thing is that it doesn't get any recovery, though, besides Aqua Ring, so most of the time you do have to run lefties on it, but to be honest, that's honestly fine because of just how bulky Finny is and just all of that coverage it gets. So our next pick is Kartana, which is kind of a complete counterpart to Finny, honestly. Like, Finny was really specially bulky, and Kartana's special defense is that of rice paper. Its defense is actually really good. It's even higher than Finny's by 1 point, which is pretty cool. But it gets a good amount of coverage. It gets like Sacred Sword, it gets Knockoff, it gets Psycho Cut, X-Scissor, that stuff. But most of the time you are going to be running as a sweeper, like with Swords Dancer, with Scarf, because the Beast Boost pretty much almost always raises your attack. There is a way to make it boost your speed, but you have to like run timid, and it's like having stack attack and get an attack boost. Basically, like, it's possible, but, like, most of the time you're just going to want to get that attack rate from Kartana, because it has, like, base 181 attack with Smart Strike and Leaf Blade, and it just hits everything really hard. Plus, it outspeeds base 100s with a max 348 speed. Alright, after that, I needed a fire type, so I picked Entei, and thus rounds out my Fire, Water, Grass core, which, to be honest, is looking pretty cool. So most of the time, Banded Sacred Fire and Banded Extreme Speed just do a lot of damage. It does way too much. So you basically just get to go and break through a massive hole in the opposing team, and you just get to do that. It also gets, like, Stumping Danger and Stud Edge for coverage, but most of the time you're just going to be clicking Sacred Fire, because you don't really need to click anything else. A Scarf set also works, but most of the time I'm going to be running Band because it just hits that much harder. And base 150 to attack is pretty good, with like the Choice Band, that is really where it just deals way too much damage. So I have noted that there are 3 Pokemon that just utterly destroy me. Well, there's actually 4, but, like, I just mainly say there's 3. Sorry. And they are Necrozma, Snorlax, and Alolan Muck. And the 4th unofficial one is Comfey. Because basically, I just don't really know how to deal with them. With Muck, you can run a Curse set. You got Toxic Spikes, I'm pretty sure. Do you get Toxic Spikes? No, you don't get Toxic Spikes. Alright, that's, well, too bad. Whatever. But you basically just sets up a curse, gets to recycle infinitely it has Poison Touch, but mainly Gluttony. has the ability. It gets Crunch and Knock Off and Poison Jab and all those moves. You basically just curse, recycle, knock off, poison jab, and it just does so much after just one curse. Because the stat's pretty nice, it's pretty bulky, and it gets priority with Shadow Sneak. So if you need priority, you can always use Alolan Mach for Shadow Sneak. Next is one of my old favorites, Gligar. So it gets rocks. Just a second. It gets rocks, gets Defog, which is always nice. In fact, I actually kind of had a Stealth Rock problem, like just a hazard setting up problem. But I kind of fixed that. It gets Toxic and Knockoff. Like most of the time, you're going to be choosing from those 5 moves. I mean, there are cases in which you would choose something else, but most of the time that's what you're doing. And it has stuff like Tailwind and Taunt if you really need the coverage. It gets U-Turn, which is pretty nice. My team doesn't actually have a lot of momentum, so the U-Turn might actually be key. Yeah, getting used a couple times. I think Gligar, Uxie, and Lantern with Volt Switch I think are the only Pokemon that get Volt Turn. So yeah, most of the time you are going to be running a Violite. Oh crud, I forgot to mention something earlier. Alright, so different from the CWL, Z-moves, basically you just got to choose 2 Z-move users, and one of them could only use attacking Z-moves, and the other could use every Z-move. And Kartana is my every Z-move user. I'll get to my only attacking one later, but just so you know. I think that's actually it with Gligar, though. Because just those 5 moves, and it does work. And it just is incredibly bulky with the Violite out. So next is Uxie, which I used in my first ever Draft League, and it did pretty nice. It gets Stealth Rock, it gets U-Turn, it gets Knock Off. It's actually pretty bulky. Like Finny, it doesn't get any recovery, as far as I know. So most of the time you are going to be running lefties, but that's fine. U-Turn, what did I mention? Oh yeah, Memento. To be honest, I probably... No, I don't regret anything at all. No, I don't regret anything at all with my Z users. I was gonna say, maybe I should have made Uxie my all-Z, but no, I don't regret it at all. I definitely needed the 2 I chose to be my Z users. And speaking of which, my next Z move user and next pick is Zygarde 50%. So, I originally had not planned to pick Zygarde 50% on my team, because, I'd already used Kartana as a free pick, and I did not want to destroy my draft, but lo and behold, it happened. Here's why. So, this pick was going to be Mega Pidgeot, but right before me, I got sniped out of Mega Pidgeot by the person running the Mono Flying team, and honestly, I probably shouldn't have left it that far, but, I thought it would be safe. Shortly afterward, by the way, I was going to pick Mega Aerodactyl, but then that got sniped for me, so whatever. But here is Zygarde. And I just basically did this to get revenge against the Mono Flying team, because 1,000 arrows. Growlithe adjacent foes. First hit neutral on flying. It's a ground type move that can hit flying type Pokemon. You just spam this. You can run Bandit, you can run Dragon Dance, you can run Dragonium Z, because it is my attacking Z move user. You basically just get to do a lot of things with it. Most of the time you're just going to be clicking 1,000 arrows and just, like Entei, just smashing a hole in the opposing team. After just like a Dragon Dance or a Coil or a Substitute or something. Because all of those work, and they all do a lot. Or you could just run a Choice Band set or a Choice Scarf set. Either one is just completely fine. Because at base 95, Zygarde doesn't outspeed the base 100s, but it doesn't matter because it gets Dragon Dance, and just the overall presence of Zygarde and the fact that it gets extreme speed is enough to threaten out a lot of things. So you basically just kind of get that Dragon Dance or setup move for free because the opponent can't really risk you just straight up killing one of their important Pokemon. But yeah, it's just an incredibly nice pick. And now I have 2 Tier 1 free picks. So that's 360 points. And recovering from that is going to be kind of a problem for me. So, next I picked Lantern. And Lantern, to be honest, I just kind of wanted to round out my weaknesses. And the fact that it gets both Volt Absorb and Water Absorb kind of does that. Like, electric moves can be spammed against Finny, but if I switch into Lantern, they could just boost me up, and then I could go for Toxic, or Volt Switch, or Heal Bell, or Scald, or just a ton of moves that just give me momentum, or cripple the opponent. It's honestly pretty nice for a Tier 5, because despite the fact that it has pretty mass stats, it does what it needs to before it dies. Again, it doesn't really get too much recovery. It does get rest, but most of the time I'm not going to run it. But I'm not running this as like my dedicated bulky water, because Tapu Fini is my dedicated bulky water. But it just, in a pinch, it does what it needs to. It Volt Switches, it Toxics, it Heal Bells, it just basically sticks around until it needs to die. Because it can live a couple hits. So next is my Mega Pokemon. And like I said before, I have 40 free points. And I also have 2 Pokemon that I need to pick left for free. And that's kind of a problem because the Tier 5 is worth 40 free points. So how am I going to get past that, you may ask? Well, Mega Banette, by being one of the worst Megas in all of history, grants me 80 free points. And unfortunately, I'm not going to name it Brooklyn, because my team is the Brooklyn Banettes. Yeah, whatever. So, here's why it sucks. It's too slow, and it's too frail. Base 64 HP is like nothing. It dies to any super effective attack, which is fine, because it gets Prankster Destiny Bond. And it does get Shadow Sneak for that base 165 attack, which is like Kartana. But to be honest, it doesn't get anything else. It's too frail to really pull off a Will-O-Wisp or anything. It's too frail to Trick Room, but if it does Trick Room, it actually might do something. The only problem is, I take back what I said earlier about it doing something under Trick Room, because it's actually too fast for Trick Room, which really sucks. Because, like, base 75 is just that area in which you do not want to be, because it's too low to outspeed things outside of Trick Room, but it's too fast to outslow things in Trick Room. To be honest, Mega Banette kinda sucks, but I guess it might do something. I'm probably never gonna bring it, but, like, I just needed it for the free points. And the fact that it's a ghost, I guess. But I guess, base 165 attack, Shadow Sneak, I don't know, might do something. It gets Prankster Skill Swap, so that might be okay. I don't know. Probably not. So next is Bronzong, which is a very useful Tier 4. So this is 60 out of the 120 free points I now have now, and the other 60 is spent on my final pick. So I needed, what was I even gonna say? So Bronzong gets Levitate and Heat Proof, which really rounds out its steel weaknesses, being ground and fire, because it's neutral against fighting. Most of the time, run Levitate, unless you're like facing some fire type, in which case you really want to run Heat Proof. But it sets up Stealth Rocks. It's pretty bulky. you can honestly do a couple things with it. It's not like a one-trick thing. So, as you might have noticed, my team is kind of slow, and Bronzong gets Trick Room, so if I need that, it gets Gyro Ball as well, and Heavy Slam. So, if I really wanted to meme, I could run Heavy Metal Heavy Slam, but probably not gonna happen. It gets Explosion for when it needs to die. It gets, it actually gets a good amount of coverage. It gets Rock Slide and Zen Headbutt and Earthquake and stuff, but most of the time you're not gonna use that Psychic Stab. But to be honest, it can run both physical and special because both of its attacking stats kind of suck. But that's fine because it's a bulky enough mon that it's honestly really good for tier 4. But it's like it's too bad to be in tier 3, but it's like really good as a tier 4 mon, which is kind of what I needed. So, other than that, what was I going to do? Aromatisse. Great. So, I may have mentioned before that Gligar was one of my favorite Pokemon to use. Aromatisse is the other one. It gets Aroma Veil, so you can't taunt it, which is good, because it literally needs to not be taunted. So, Wish Protect kind of fixes that problem with the fact that nothing on my team gets recovery except for like a few things. It gets Aromatherapy and Heal Bell. It gets Moonblast. So most of the time, you run Wish Protect, Moonblast, and then some other move, which is fine, because that's really all it needs to do, and it just does work. Because those stats, because it's pretty bulky, you just how it may look at on paper, and you can run it as, it gets Trick Room, so you might run it as a Trick Room sweeper. Mine base 99 special attack is actually okay for that, after a nasty plot, and it's just another mon that gets Trick Room out of by 4, I think. Uxie, Bennett, Bronzong, and Aromatisse. Yeah, my 4 Trick Room users. So I guess I sort of have some sort of a Trick Room element, but I also have, like, Kartana and Zygarde, and, like, the amount, and, like, the priority I have for speed control, I guess. So I could go Trick Room a couple times, I guess. But I don't necessarily have to due to mons like Kartana. I think that concludes my draft analysis. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to using Kartana, because this is probably like the only league I'm going to use it in, because to be honest, its special defense just kind of sucks, and it's hard to get it in, but once you get it in, it just is really good. It's just one of those mons that you have to prep for. So is, like, Bronzong as well. But what was I going to say? Yeah, that concludes my draft analysis, so I guess I'll see you week 1. Yeah, I think that's it. See ya.